The Texas Women's Athletics Hall of Honor will induct 6 members this year. Kara McGrath-Chavey helped lead Texas to 4 consecutive NCAA team titles and was an 11-time All-American. Eva Murray-Franco was the Southwest Conference Player of the Year in 1986. That same year, Texas advanced to the NCAA Semifinals. Vicki Paynter-Finney, 4-time tennis All-American, led the Horns to the 1993 NCAA Team Championship. Let's go to track. Sandy Richards, 2-time track Olympic medalist and helped lead Texas to the 1990 NCAA Indoor Team title. Another runner, Angie Vaughn, 3-time NCAA champ, won the NCAA Indoor and Outdoor Team Championships, and former swimming and diving coach Mike Brown. He was part of 14 men's and women's swimming and diving national championships. This is going to be the 13th class, and an inductee for the 12th class joins us now, the athletic director for the Texas women's program, Chris Plonsky. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Honored to be here.
Well, talk about the process. I mean, how many people are involved in selecting someone, and what goes into the whole process? We
have a formal selection committee, and sort of over time, people serve terms on the selection committee. It's a tough group. This is a long putt to get into this Hall of Honor, and that was established from the beginning. We celebrated our 25th year of women's athletics back in 2000-2001, and it was at that time that we initiated the Hall of Honor. And at that point, the individuals on the committee, some of whom are external, some internal, staff, former coaches, even former student athletes, wanted it to be hard. The criteria is stiff. You have to have competed at the highest level. You had to have displayed an integrity about the way you went about your business, not just in the classroom, on the athletics fields, but also later in life. So the committee discussions, you'd be enamored by it. You guys should televise it sometime.
We should.
Those discussions get very enamored. But this is an incredible group, as you can see by their achievements.
Well, Chris, don't open that up to us, because we will film it, as you know. As the coaches know, if we can, we will do it. Well, let's start with Kara McGrath-Chavey. She was here from 1984 to 1987. 4-time NCAA champ and 11-time All-American. Now, why did she get in?
Kara McGrath was the rock behind that extraordinary recruiting class that came in 83, 84 and began to just win. Can you imagine 4 consecutive years and you walk away with a championship ring every year? Kara was an extraordinary athlete, butterflyer, steady, always could count on her points in the meet. All these young ladies had the great fortune to swim for Richard Quick, the late Richard Quick, our great coach. But among that class, Kara was just such a steady leader, extraordinary student as well, high GPA. Can't move on in the Hall of Honor without a person like Kara McGrath. She epitomizes what it's about.
Oh, you read the bio, and it makes sense. And then talking to you off of the field, pretty impressive as well. Let's talk about Eva Murray-Franco. She was a volleyball player here from 1983 to 1986. 1986 Southwest Conference Player of the Year. How much we look at the volleyball team now, all the great athletes, all the great teams that Jarrett Elliott is putting together. How much what she did in 1986 is kind of the groundwork for what we see today?
Eva Murray was from Chicago, and she, when she signed with us and committed to us, it was a signature moment in our volleyball program, because she was really one of the first athletes that was recruited highly and nationally. Mick Haley danced in the hallways when we got her signature. You got to remember, this is the old days of Gregory Gym, unair-conditioned Gregory Gym, and very nascent years in the NCAA. But when Eva came, people followed. She was able to, because of her setting ability, she was our quarterback. She was able to attract all the great athletes that carried us through, and eventually in 1988, that group led us into that NCAA title. So she was really a person that attracted a high-caliber national athlete to Texas for years and years.
Well, speaking of national championships, Vicki Paynter-Finney ends up winning a national championship in 1993. It was the first one for a team title. I mean, what did that mean for the tennis program when you look at it now?
That was a great series of years. And again, whenever a team wins its first, it's so exciting. Vicki was a rock, along with her doubles partner, Susan Gilchrist-Lukoski, who got in several years ago to the Hall of Honor. Just again, you could count on her singles and doubles point. She was a prolific player, beat some pretty extraordinary people when she became a professional, too. But Vicki, again, you can always say, was on the first national championship tennis team at UT in '93.
And then later on, as a pro, doubles, she ends up beating Martina Navratilova. When you read that name, that just says it all.
Not a bad barometer, is
No,
it?
that's not bad. And I don't care where Martina was in her career, because she was still playing pretty well as she was getting a little older. But I think that said everything right there. All right, let's move to Sandy Richards. No relation to Sonia Richards-Ross, although they are both from Jamaica. And Sandy was on the track team in 1990, 1991. And she was a JUCO player, JUCO All-American. Why is she on this team for only 2 years at UT?
Well, during her time here, she was an excellent runner. Again, critical era for track, 400-meter runner extraordinaire. She went on, can you imagine, to compete in 5 Olympic Games between '88 and 2004. That just shows you her longevity. The thing that is extraordinary about Sandy, and I always echo Sheila Rice, our former women's academic advisor, who was here from '76 through '95. So she saw every athlete in our early and real mature eras. She just recalled the diligence and the dedication that Sandy had to her craft, track, but also to academics. This is a young woman that, again, probably never even dreamed about coming to Texas, and got her chance, got a scholarship, and performed well. So that'll be an emotional moment for Sandy and her family in November for this Hall of Honor.
It sounds like UT was on her mind the whole time, and she finally got here and succeeded.
Realized her dream.
Yeah. Well, Angie Vaughn was also on the track team 1995 to 1998. She specialized more in the hurdles, though. What stands out when you think of Angie Vaughn?
We've had some classic athletes in this event, and Angie was extraordinary. I don't know if I can't even get out of my car in 7.41 seconds, but that's how fast she covered the 55-meter hurdles. And the very last year it was run in the NCAA indoor. She was prolific, again, undefeated as a senior in that event, led us to a national championship, and competed for a long time. She was just a tenacious athlete, and you know, Bev loves her sprinters, sprinting over hurdles or just sprinting flat, and Angie was extraordinary.
Now, Mike Brown's the one coach on this list, but you can see when you look at all the titles he won with the men's and women's swimming and diving teams. But there's more to this story. 1600 SAT, perfect score, and was also, All-American on the trampoline in high school? He sounds like a character.
You know, Brownie was a Dartmouth grad, brilliant to that SAT score. As the SAT score can attest, he was... remember, back in the day, Brownie got here in '76, coached through '94. This is when Austin was a lot smaller. There was a lot of old hippie was in Brownie, but he approached coaching that way. He used to teach about not being fearless as a diver. And during the times that the pool was drained, the 10-meter pool was drained, Brownie would go up on the 10-meter tower and do a handstand with the pool empty, and then back down. He wouldn't do it to show off, but he would say, it's all mental. You can do anything you want to do. And his divers took his tack. He was calm. He was such an excellent technician, had multinational champions, individual events on both the men and women's sides, and I think he was with 9 champions on the women's side and 5 for the men before he departed. He's now at the University of Hawaii, has a daughter that's a gymnast, not surprising, married one of our former divers, Anita Rossing, who is a Swedish Olympian. We still see Brownie once a year when they come back for the Texas Invitational, and he was really touched when we called him and said he's in the Hall of Honor.
Oh, the Women's Hall of Honor, 2012 edition, the 13th class. Chris, it's a great class. Thanks so much for shedding some light on some of these people.
Thanks for publicizing. This is the biggest honor you can win in UT women's athletics, and this is a great, great class.
Thanks, Chris.